What if one of the smallest nations on Earth was also one of the most feared? What if a country with no vast territory, no massive population, and no natural resources managed to grow so influential that even global powers take it seriously? That country is Singapore. Often described as nothing more than a dot on the map, Singapore has become a giant in ways few could have predicted. From its dazzling skyline to its unmatched financial power, from its military readiness to its role as a global trading hub, this city-state has transformed into a force that far exceeds its size. And with such transformation comes a ripple effect across the world. The year 2025 is proving to be a critical moment. As larger nations struggle with economic uncertainty, shifting alliances, and growing rivalries, Singapore continues to thrive. Its stability, discipline, and relentless ambition make it a model for success but also a source of unease for its neighbors and beyond. To some, Singapore is a miracle. To others, it is a reminder of their own shortcomings. And for a few, it is a threat to their dominance. So the big question is this: how can a nation so small make the world's biggest players feel uncomfortable? Which countries quietly keep their guard up against Singapore's rise? And why does the world watch this tiny island with such intensity? Today, we uncover the story of 10 nations that, in one way or another, see Singapore not just as a partner, but as a challenger to their own influence. Number 10. Saudi Arabia. Far away in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia sees Singapore as a rival for global investment and influence. As Riyadh pushes its vision programs to diversify beyond oil, it faces competition from Singapore's well-established reputation as a safe financial hub. Investors looking for stability often choose Singapore over the Middle East, something that frustrates Saudi ambitions. In addition, Singapore's independent foreign policy, including its balanced stance on global conflicts, makes it an attractive alternative for global players, limiting Saudi Arabia's ability to dominate narratives in trade and diplomacy. Number 9. Australia. Australia views Singapore as both an ally and a competitor. Canberra appreciates Singapore's role in maintaining stability in Asia, but it also feels overshadowed by Singapore's success as a financial hub and its ability to attract global businesses. Australian universities and industries lose talent to Singapore's dynamic environment, and its military, while small in numbers, trains with efficiency and technology that rivals even Australia's. This makes Singapore less a threat in military terms, but more a challenge in shaping the balance of influence in the Indo-Pacific. Number 8. Japan. Japan is a global giant, yet even Tokyo watches Singapore carefully. The island city has become a preferred hub for multinational companies, sometimes at Japan's expense. Financial markets and tech innovations in Singapore increasingly rival Japanese centers. Militarily, Singapore's advanced defense systems, often sourced from both Western and Asian suppliers, give it capabilities that punch above its weight. Japan values Singapore's partnership but also realizes that this small nation could one day replace Tokyo as the true center of Asia's future economy. Number 7. Vietnam. Vietnam's rapid rise as a manufacturing and economic powerhouse often collides with Singapore's dominance in finance and trade. Hanoi knows that global companies often prefer Singapore as their headquarters for Southeast Asia, even when Vietnam provides cheaper labor and resources. This makes Singapore both a partner and a competitor. Furthermore, Singapore's influence in ASEAN sometimes checks Vietnam's assertiveness, particularly when dealing with China in the South China Sea. The competition is subtle, but Vietnam recognizes Singapore as a small but powerful country that can slow its rise. Number 6. Thailand. Thailand sees Singapore as a rival in tourism, trade, and regional diplomacy. Bangkok has long prided itself as a hub of Southeast Asia, but Singapore's success in attracting airlines, logistics companies, and investors has overshadowed Thailand's influence. In times of political instability in Bangkok, Singapore shines as a beacon of predictability and security, pulling investors away. On a military level, Singapore's modern and well-funded armed forces also stand out in the region, giving Thailand reason to keep a cautious eye on its southern neighbor. Number 5. India. India, rising rapidly as an Asian powerhouse, keeps a close eye on Singapore. The city-state has a large Indian community, but it also acts as a financial and logistical competitor to India's ambitions of being the gateway to Asia. Singapore attracts global companies, investments, and talent that New Delhi would prefer to keep at home. Militarily, Singapore's strong defense partnerships with Western nations give it leverage in the Indian Ocean and beyond, something India is cautious about. While cultural ties remain strong, Singapore's efficiency, stability, and global trust make it a silent rival to India's desire for regional dominance. Number 4. United States. It may sound surprising, but even Washington views Singapore with mixed feelings. While the US depends on Singapore as a strategic partner in Asia, it also worries that the city-state's growing independence might weaken American influence. Singapore's policy of balancing between China and the West makes it less predictable than traditional allies. Furthermore, its rise as a financial and technological hub challenges American dominance in certain sectors, especially when global investors see Singapore as a safer, more stable alternative. The United States does not see Singapore as an enemy, but as a partner that could one day outgrow its role and chart its own path, potentially at America's expense. Number 3. China. China's relationship with Singapore is complicated. On one hand, Beijing values Singapore as a vital trade hub that connects Chinese goods to the world. On the other, China is cautious about Singapore's close defense ties with the United States and its role as a balancing power in the South China Sea. Singapore is small, but its voice carries weight in ASEAN, often challenging Beijing's attempts to dominate the region. In 2025, China sees Singapore as a nation too aligned with Western security frameworks and too independent to fully control, making it a subtle but significant obstacle to Beijing's ambitions. Number 2. Indonesia. Indonesia, the sprawling giant of Southeast Asia, has long looked at Singapore with a mix of respect and unease. Jakarta knows that its archipelago surrounds Singapore, yet the island city commands influence that often overshadows Indonesia on the world stage. Singapore's dominance in shipping, finance, and foreign investment often makes it the preferred gateway into Southeast Asia, bypassing Indonesia's vast potential. Moreover, Singapore's strong defense forces, advanced air force, and close ties with Western militaries give it a military edge that Indonesia cannot easily match. The fear is not of direct conflict, but of Singapore shaping regional decisions in ways that limit Indonesia's leadership aspirations. Number 1. Malaysia. For Malaysia, Singapore is more than just a neighbor, it is a mirror reflecting what could have been. Once part of the same federation, the two nations have taken very different paths. Singapore has become a global hub of finance, technology, and military efficiency, while Malaysia struggles with internal divisions and slower growth. This imbalance fuels a sense of rivalry. Singapore's naval power and control of vital shipping lanes make Kuala Lumpur wary, especially since Malaysian goods and oil often pass through Singaporean-controlled routes. While the two countries share cultural ties, competition in trade, ports, and foreign investment makes Malaysia view Singapore less as a partner and more as a strategic challenger right at its doorstep. Singapore's story is unlike any other. In a world where size often defines strength, this tiny island has rewritten the rules. It has shown that strategy can outweigh numbers, that stability can outshine chaos, and that vision can turn limitations into opportunities. But with that success comes suspicion. For its neighbors, Singapore is a constant reminder of what could have been, an example of how discipline and foresight can transform a nation. For global powers, Singapore is both an ally and a competitor, a partner they rely on yet also quietly fear. And for rising nations, it is a benchmark they struggle to reach, a rival in trade, finance, and influence. But here lies the truth: Singapore does not seek to dominate. It does not conquer territories, nor does it project power through force. Its influence is subtle, built on trust, reputation, and resilience. And yet, those very qualities make it a player that cannot be ignored. In 2025, the unease surrounding Singapore says less about the island itself and more about the insecurities of others. So, is Singapore really a threat? Or is it simply a nation that dared to dream bigger than its borders and proved the world wrong? The answer depends on who you ask. But one thing is certain: in the great chessboard of global politics, Singapore may be the smallest piece, yet it plays with the power of a queen. And as the world watches, one question remains: how long can Singapore balance its success before admiration turns into open rivalry? That, perhaps, is the real challenge of the future.